La Sportiva are hugely famous for their amazing footwear they've been making for years. Amazing rock shoes to mountaineering boots. But their clothing range is growing rapidly at the moment, and some of their amazing mountaineering kit, like the Lumina 200, really needs talking about. I was actually lucky enough to go to the La Sportiva factory and head office in Italy earlier this year, and it was really interesting to see how they work. They're actually based in the Alps, up in the mountains, so they get to go out and test their products daily. And that's why they come out with such amazing, innovative products. The people in the valley, the employees, the staff, they all get out there in their lunch breaks and after work, and they test the garments and their footwear. So they've got climbing, skiing, running, all from their doorstep, and it's really impressive to see what they're doing. And what's really obvious is they're all really obsessed with keeping the weight down while still having the highest level of performance. And that's where the Lumina range comes in. So the Lumina is their newest down jackets and the lightest they've ever made. They've got a 100, 200 and 300, but I'm concentrating on the 200 here because I think it's the most all-round and the most versatile. So across that range, what is really cool is half the weight of each of those jackets is all in the insulation. So you're getting a lot of warmth for the weight of the jacket. So for example, the Lumina 200 weighs 250 grams. 125 grams of that is 1,000 fill white fluffy down, which is about as high quality as I've ever heard of. So just to talk about fill power, sorry if you already know this, but just to make sure it's quite clear, the higher the number doesn't mean it's a warmer jacket. You could have a jacket full of 600 fill down that'll be warmer than this, but it'll be bulky and it'll be heavy and it won't pack small. So if you have a high fill power, like 1,000 fill is as high as it gets, it has more ability to loft and to fill. It has more power to fill. So you can use less down. So 1,000 fill power is, I think, the highest you can get, and so it gets the best warmth to weight ratio on the market. So 125 grams of that, if it was a lower quality down, wouldn't be a lot, but you get a huge amount of loft with that amount of 1,000 fill down. So this is a hugely warm jacket for something that packs so small and only weighs 250 grams. They've also combined that with a really, really light, thin Pertex Quantum outer. That's the perfect choice for a jacket like this because that's really thin and really compressible, but also on a micro scale, it's actually really strong. Now that's needed not just for abrasion and things like that, I'll come to that in a minute, but the fact that down on a small scale is actually quite prickly and can poke through if you don't have a good outer face like that. And that's why thin fabrics like this become shiny, because they're really, really thin, but really, really durable, and the holes are really small, so you won't get feathers poking out all over the place. So they combined both those things with keeping really, really minimalist design. So obviously I've got a full length zip and I've got some hand pockets. That's about it really. Obviously I've got a hood. If I'm honest, I really like that because this is a simple jacket. This is giving you maximum warmth, minimum pack size. So they're going to get rid of all those fancy bits you don't need. Luckily, the hem and the cuffs seem to fit perfectly, so there's no need for extra tabs and pull cords on there, keeping the weight down. What I think is quite interesting for a mountaineering jacket is the fact that it's not a helmet hood. Of course, again, that keeps bulk down. I actually think that's quite clever, and so far when I've used it, that also works really well. I haven't really been wanting to shove it over my helmet very often. I usually use it just like this. But what I do think a lot of people use it for is when they've got to the end of their day. So imagine you're ski touring in the Alps or something like that. You're probably not going to be skiing in it. It's when you get to the hut or your bivvy or whatever you're doing that night and you need some warmth. The helmet comes off and you want to keep nice and snug. So why carry that extra weight and bulk of a helmet hood when you're not going to use it? If you did end up climbing with it, hopefully as a mid layer, not as an outer too much, you can obviously put it under your helmet because it will compress down quite nicely. Now they combined all those really light fabrics and down with really clever construction with the pattern of the baffles. They've been perfectly body mapped so that you're getting maximum warmth where you need it and keeping the stitching to a minimum because of course that weighs something. This is one of those really lucky situations where I got this nearly a year ago now to test, which has been great because I've used it rock climbing, multi-pitching, had it like clipped to my harness because it packs up super small. Like I say, we went skiing earlier in the year and it was great because actually I had it in my bag a lot of the time because it packed so small just in case it was cold on the lifts. But when it was cold in the mornings, then last thing, I'd actually wear it as a mid layer as well. When we went to see La Sportiva, they took us for a nighttime ski tour and it was literally perfect because we skinned up this hill trying to keep weight down as we could. I was sweaty and hot on the way up. As soon as we got up there, of course, lo and behold, it was cold. Out pops the tiniest Lumina and gave me so much warmth. It was brilliant for the ski down. It comes with a super tiny little stuff sack, which shows how small it can go when you're clipping it to your harness. If I'm honest, most of the time I prefer to use different bags, maybe a dry bag so that you know it can be completely dry when you get out of your bag. Let's be honest, down jackets, you don't want to get them wet. When they get wet, they don't loft up and they don't keep you warm, so make sure you keep it dry. A dry bag's really good for that, and also you can compress it really well and keep the air from going back into the bag. So every time anyone sees a jacket like this, they go, well, that can't be very durable. Look how light and flimsy it is. It's not built to be a burly piece of kit. You're not meant to be like backing footing up chimneys with this on or carrying big loads. This is built to be stuffed away in your bag for when you need it. Now, of course, on a micro scale, the abrasion, it can take about the best it possibly could for a jacket of this weight, but that still means you've got to be quite careful with it. I really like the fact that La Sportiva have even thought about that and even given you a little repair kit with the jacket, so if you do get a nick while you're out on your adventure, just fix it. I must admit, I nearly feel a bit hypocritical saying how much I like this jacket, because a lot of the time people come in the shop and I try and talk them out of really skinny down jackets because they're not that warm for the weight or whatever, because they're using low quality down. You'd be better off in a synthetic, things like that. But I think this one bucks the trend because that down quality is just so high at 1000 fill. It is so much warmer than jackets that are usually this thick. And to be honest, those ones using lower quality down will just pack up so much bigger than something like this. I might as well take a synthetic anyway. However, I really can put this in my back pocket and it is incredibly warm and packs so small. Keep banging on about that, but it really does. So who's it for? Well, I think it's for anyone who wants to do lightweight adventures, wild camping, things like that. But I really think ski tourers are going to love it. Like I say, in your bag all day, but in the evening when you're getting cold, perfect, pop this on. Summer alpinism, absolutely great. Again, you're going to bivvy out, maybe get caught out. You're not sure, but you want some extra warmth in your bag. Why not have the smallest packing thing you can get? And I think in the UK, it's just the perfect thing to have clipped to your harness if you're just not sure whether you're going to freeze on the belay, even on a single pitch sitting on the top, certainly on multi-pitching, or if you're going to get caught out. Even long distance running and bike packing, why not? You've got to keep the weight down, haven't you? So if you think you need a little bit of warmth for your next adventure, why not have the most packable thing you can find?